everybody. Welcome back to Autism Confidential, the podcast from the National Council on Severe Autism. I am Jill Escher, and I am your host today. And I'm sorry about a brief absence. I will be honest and tell you, I've had been struggling with long COVID, and I just had a lot of trouble getting things done, and a lot of things got put on hold. But we are back in action, and I'm just incredibly excited about the podcast episode we have for you today. I had first heard about a documentary called Beyond, I think last year. Some friends of mine who live in Los Angeles had told me about it, and it featured an LA mom of 2 kids with autism, Tamara Mark. And I knew Tamara a little bit. I thought, well, this is interesting. Well, I finally had a chance to see this film, and I was floored by it. I was just dumbfounded at the themes, the footage, the character, the personality of Tamara and the other players in the film and her sons. I just loved it. And I am so happy to say that I have 4 people involved with the film today, not just 1, 4. And so let me introduce them to you. First, we have the producer, Drew Miller. Drew, say hi.
Hi, everybody. Thanks. Thank you, Jill, for having us today.
And you're coming to us from Los Angeles, right?
I'm originally from Los Angeles, but we are coming to you from Lake Stevens, Washington, which is right north of Seattle, about 20 miles.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know that. And Thiago Dadalt, you have to correct my pronunciation, Thiago.
It's great. It's Thiago Dadalt, yes.
And he is the filmmaker, the director behind the film. And then I have the star of the film, the lovely and very talented, as you will find out, Tamara Mark. Hi, Tamara.
Hi, Jill.
And you are coming to us from LA, from Pasadena, I'm going to guess.
Well, actually, we're by unbelievable chance, our friend Holly Powell gave us her place in Paso Robles because I fell and broke my collarbone. And I am in a cast, not a cast, but a sling. And Harry pulls me around, and Ian we needed to get a couple days away, so we were away for 3 days.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes. I
went down a flight of stairs in my basement with lemonades that I was prepping for Harry for the night. It was my 3rd trip down because we like, you'll understand this, Jill. We put like little amounts of diluted organic sugar-free lemonade down in 4 different places downstairs where he goes in the morning and drinks them. And I was bringing the
things we do. Yeah,
I know. I was bringing my 3rd trip down, and my heel of my boot caught my cuff of my jean. And Mark was in the living room, and he didn't know what he was going to find. But God, I'm really grateful that I only have a broken collarbone, but I hit everything's bruised in my head.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. And yeah, the world cannot afford to have you injured. So happy healing. And
I'm glad you are as well, by the way.
Oh, well, yeah, that it wasn't as bad. And Mark, we're very happy to have you. Mark is sort of a surprise star of the film. I'm going to try not to have too many spoilers. I don't know if it's possible to do this podcast without spoilers, but we'll do our best. So let's start at the beginning. How did this project even get started? Who was the one to instigate it? How did you meet?
Thiago.
Okay, Tamara first.
So let me try.
Okay. All right, Thiago first.
Yeah.
Okay, so Drew and I, we made a short film called Duke. This was in 2019, and it's based on a true story of a young man, 17 years old, who never typed, and he started communicating. So anyways, after we made the film, we were shooting a documentary about Alzheimer, and we met Azira, which is a common friend from Tamara, and she have watched the short film that we made, and she loved the movie, and she say, well, I would love to introduce you to a friend of mine who has 2 Dukes in her house. And I couldn't even imagine someone with 2 nonverbals, But that story got in my mind for a while. We never talk about it again. Drew and I, we finished the Alzheimer documentary, and that was like a year later. Azira asked me about how was the documentary, and just the Tamara story popped up in my mind, and I was like, remember that you told me about Tamara's story? And then she connected us by email, and Tamara watched the Duke, and we did a FaceTime, and we connected right away. We felt like we knew each other for other lives, from other lives. And this is supposed to be just a day in Tamara's life. This was before, no, yeah, the pandemic was already going on, and I didn't know her enough, but the idea was to film her during the day, the Thanksgiving, and that would be just a short documentary about her life.
And this was Thanksgiving 2020.
Correct.
Right. Yes.
2020,
Yes. That's when the film opens.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And then after that day, actually, we so many things happen, as you can see in the movie, that I talked with Drew, and we both agreed that we should definitely spend more time and tell her entire story. And talking with Tamara, we all agree to spend the entire year, like nothing was really happening in the world, like was a pandemic. We were really deep on the pandemic. So that's how this came about. But I had no idea about Mark. I have no idea about many things that we really find out as we were there filming and making the film.
Right. Okay. So it really came from you, and then you heard about Tamara. So you went over and you started filming around, Thanksgiving 2020, and you realized that there was a bigger story here. This was not just a day in the life, that this was like what Tamara was living was so incredibly deep, and so complex that it deserved more time.
Yeah, Thiago wanted to go back in time a little bit and bring the whole storyline forward.
Right. And listeners, let me tell you, part of the reason there's a storyline here is that Tamara's background is quite remarkable. And the film goes into this a bit, but Tamara, I will ask you about it, but really as a brief overview for people, Tamara was a very talented dancer. She had, been with some really considerable training, a very sought after actress. She was a singer. We also later learned in the film she could play guitar too. But she's sort of multi-talented and very busy in Hollywood. Things were kind of going kind of swimmingly. And then, of course, autism came along. But Tamara, let me ask you about this. Like, when you were growing up, I mean, had you even heard of autism? Was there anything in your life that could have you could have prepared you at all for this?
So interesting you asked me this question. We moved when I was going into 5th grade, and I wanted a young teacher. And I had to go to a school that was actually being bused. I was supposed to go to a school that he actually went to because he's from my same hometown. But
in the hometowns
was Beaverton, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Beaverton. Yeah. So I ended up going to this school, and I had the oldest teacher in the school, but she was like the coolest woman in the world. She lived in Japan. She did all these things. And she realized like I had some kind of gift of tutoring or working with people. So when I was in 5th grade, I started working with kids that were probably autistic. I would guess that they were autistic because I was working with shapes, them, focusing on how to do simple tasks like puzzles, things like that. And that same year, I remember reading something about dolphins and autism. And I don't know why it's stuck in my brain. I mean, my boys have swam with wild dolphins in Hawaii. I've done.
Well, as you said in the film, there isn't anything you didn't try.
I've done everything. I've done everything. So no one can blame me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's funny. So, so you get married, and along come these two sons. First, you have Harry.
Ian.
Oh, first was Ian.
Yeah.
Oh, I will say one thing that threw me a little bit in the film is I had trouble telling who was
Just like
Harry.
who they was
Ian.
who.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. A lot of people think they're twins. And
Oh, yeah.
they're 33 months apart, but people have a hard time. Even now, people go, "Oh, I thought that was Harry." I go, "No, that was Ian." And they don't really look alike, but I guess it's just an energetic. I don't.
But if you're just seeing the film for the first time,
Yeah.
you see two young men in their early 20s, and they're cute as can be, by the way. But yeah, I often confuse them. So first came Ian, and then the diagnosis. Tell us a little bit about that, kind of the spoiler for the film. Tell us about Ian and your
we thought that Ian, the pediatrician wanted to know why he was starting to crawl when he'd been walking really early. Like, why was he regressing? And then he asked, he didn't think he could hear. And I said, I think Ian's having trouble hearing. And because I had gone to like the museum in Pasadena, the Kids Space Museum, and they brought a fire truck or a police car. And all the little kids covered their ears when he did the siren, and Ian just stood there like no affect. So that was an indicator, like, well, what's going on? And everyone goes, well, if he's deaf, that'll be the best case scenario of all,
right.
Because he'd be able to do everything himself, and it would just be, he wouldn't have his ears. But it turned out he was diagnosed. We did all the things you've done, all the speech and the OT and every treatment in the planet, but it didn't get better. I mean, he's better because I worked 14 hours a day with him, because I completely lost him. Like, you couldn't touch him. He wouldn't eat. I before Harry was born, I worked every single day, like 14 hours a day.
Wow. And I want to say when the film opens, the film does not shy away from how severely autistic your sons are.
No.
It does not sugarcoat their realities at all. I mean, you're in your house, and the furniture is all covered.
It still is, by the way.
It still is. And we hear the noises, we see the jumping and the flapping. Later in the film, oh my God, I have so many notes about this. Later in the film, you show a picture of, I think it was Harry's hand.
Yes.
He had bit off the top of his hand.
Yeah,
and you showed that picture. He had picked the hair right out of his head. You showed that picture. You hear plates crashing right in the background, right? I mean, the sense of chaos, of the constant trauma. The film puts you right in there and doesn't apologize for it. And then the viewer is like, this is what she lives with every day for the last 24 years. And,
I just make a point here.
Yeah, please do.
It's very interesting that we get feedbacks from people that feel they can't handle the movie, but that's a little piece of what Tamara goes through every day. You know what I mean? Like, I hope we made justice to what she goes through, but and people feel like, oh, that's too much.
It's so difficult to watch, they said.
No.
Like, well, we hope it is,
There were some scenes, Thiago, where you just let the camera go. Like, you just said, we're going to stay here on the scene. Like, there were no quick cuts, there was no flash, but there's nothing. It was just, you, viewer, are going to sit here in Tamara's world, and it might have felt to some people like maybe it was some scenes were unduly long, but I felt like you were trying to, give them a message. Like, this is just a tiny hint, right, of what she has 24/7. And I don't know who it is who's objecting to those difficult scenes, but you are right. I mean, if they can't take, looking at this for like 2 minutes on the screen, can you imagine 24 years of it, with Tamara?
And it's the work of a filmmaker. I think we want to make sure to tell the story. and show what the person's going through. So yeah, that's maybe hard for some people to watch, but that's Tamara's reality and so many other people reality.
And when Thiago came and showed me a little bit of footage, and when we were planning to do the full length documentary, and I saw some footage, that's exactly how I came up with the title. I just looked at him and I said,
yeah,
oh my gosh, this is just beyond.
It is. It's a perfect title. It is. It is
I know.
just beyond. And so many things were beyond, right? I mean, it not just the daily drama and trauma was beyond, but like the connection she has with her sons was beyond, right? You know, the challenge about the future was beyond. You know, the scale of this in terms of you and your friends and the greater community is beyond. I mean, everything's beyond. I mean,
Tamara's background is beyond.
Yeah,
Tamara's background is beyond.
her career was beyond. Yeah,
It's
Mark
so beyond
Olson
my
from
memory at this
Autistic.
point.
her life was beyond.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's true. So you know, Tamara, one thing early in the film we learn about you is you know, you were in the kind of height of your career and you took a very spiritual path.
Mhm.
And I think viewers would look at that and say, my God, without that, without
Yeah.
that, this would have crushed her, right?
Yes, it would have. It
Can
would
you
have.
talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I like I say in the movie, I feel like everything that's happened to me in my lifetime led me to do what I'm doing now. I think that I had not started as a dancer at 3 years old, you know, and been so passionate about it, so disciplined, and worked as hard as I did my entire life. I've never not worked. So, you know, I was used to doing like hours and hours and hours. My summers would be 14 hours at a dance camp, you know, like we're dancing all day long, every kind of dance in the world. And I was passionate about it. And then I really got into, I was always singing too. And then I got into acting because I fell onto Broadway basically. But it was I just feel like everything that happened to me was meant to happen to do what we're trying to do right now, which is build a future for the kids. And I think that my the gift of my leaving when my teacher died, when Peggy Fury passed away suddenly in a tragic car accident, and she and I had grown really, really close. I'd become like one of her favorite students, and she had taken me under her wing like Sean Penn, and you know, she really had like a connection. And she had just watched the movie Fast Forward, and it already had been out like over a year or so, but I'd been in her class.
This is a movie that you had starred in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And she was so enraptured with what I don't know, we just had a connection. And then I started to put up scenes every single day. Like I was in a scene study in a class for, you know, 4 days a week. And people are like, are you going somewhere tomorrow? Because, you know, you're putting up like really hard scenes like every day. What's going on? Are you leaving? Are you going? And then she died.
Hmm.
So, but I got to put my work up in front of her for about 3 months before she passed, like before she died suddenly. And her death just sent me into like questioning my purpose on earth. I don't know. I thought, you know, if she could leave that tragically, then suddenly, you know, I just questioned it. And it really threw people. Like my agents cried because I was really rising and they were begging me not to leave. And friends thought I was following UFOs. And, you know, I mean, I had a lot of people say a lot of stuff about me, but I'm so glad I did, because I found what I was looking for, and it did give me a center to get through, or I probably wouldn't be here. You know, like the stories we talk about in the movie. I mean, not that I would ever take my own life, but I know that I have my kids and that I'd be able to do what I'm doing. And that's why I don't fault people to not be able to handle it. You know, not everybody can
Right.
handle lives like this.
No, they can't. And just as a footnote here, it was sort of an Indian spirituality that
Yeah.
you followed. You actually went to India. You left LA.
Yes.
You lived there for a while. And
I traveled 2 different trips there, and I've been to South America, to Peru. I went to Machu Picchu when it just opened in 1986. I've had a lot of woo-woo, we call it, out there, you know, experiences.
yeah,
And they've sort of made me who I am. And I it's private and it's personal, but it has sustained my, you know, my course.
But I guess one would imagine that if you had a more kind of material view of the world, that your situation as a single mother to these two profoundly autistic sons could easily have overwhelmed you, and could have been the end of you.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just took that away as a viewer of this lovely film. But I think I think that you come across as having an almost supernatural strength and patience. So for whatever reason, whatever prepared you for it, that came across. But of course, you're human too, and it shows you it's this juxtaposition. You are sort of supernaturally strong and vibrant, and on the other hand, you're fragile. Well,
Yeah.
and now we know you are really fragile, having fallen down the stairs. But
Yeah.
but
You
yeah,
thought I was trying to fly down the
If
stairs.
I can just say something on that
Yeah.
point, Jill, the 20 odd years now has traumatized. The day in, day out, consistent noise, I would suggest pounding, Harry's pounding. We were walking down Laguna Beach a few months back and a car backfired and Tamara just shrunk. She's like, she hears, I don't know if I should do this or not, but a noise like that, and she just cowered. It's so
well, you have PTSD, but what I think a
Yes.
lot of us autism parents would call constant instead of
Yeah, it
traumatic
doesn't go
stress
away.
syndrome. Yeah, exactly. It's not post. There's no post.
No,
It's
it's not
everyday traumatic stress syndrome.
present traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And by the way, so Mark has spoken up. I don't think I properly explained that Mark is Tamara's now husband.
Yeah.
And we meet him in the film as their relationship is taking off. And it is the most remarkable, unexpected twist in this film.
It was for
and-
us too, right,
It
Thiago?
It was.
It's a love story. It's a beautiful love.
because this film is bookended by two Thanksgivings, the Thanksgiving of 2020 and Thanksgiving of 2021. And when it opens in 2020, the real theme that comes across is your isolation. Oh my God, there's a shot of you at the end of that scene sitting down at your Thanksgiving table and you're alone.
Mm.
And that, I mean, every autism parent can relate to that moment, right?
That's
Where you don't have family around you, you don't have friends around you, you've been abandoned, right? By many people, and your children don't have the capacity, right, to participate in a cultural ritual, right?
No. Right.
And you're alone with your turkey. I mean,
Yeah.
like, it was such a poignant,
Sure.
incredible moment. And then part of this film's arc is that, you do find connection, like, this in spite of that. So what
It's
happened? You
shocking.
guys
That's
connected like
another
on
divine
Facebook or
intervention.
something. Like you were there in LA, Tamara,
Uh-huh.
connected with an old classmate. Tell us.
I'll let Mark tell
No,
you this
no,
time. Come on.
you're fine.
Mark and I met in high school in Beaverton, Oregon. We were in a photography class together. We were always just friends, and it was a very short time we knew one another, maybe a few months, because he was a year ahead in school. And but I'd go and party with him. We're teenagers. I mean, I hung out with friends. We knew each other. Like, I hung out with him, but we never dated. I dated a couple of friends around him, but he never asked me out, so I didn't go. But what ended up happening, I went east to New York City, and he went to Australia and New Zealand, and he ended up meeting his wife that he was with for 40 some years. She died suddenly, tragically as well. And his kids suggested that he should be on Facebook and connect with people so he could move forward and all that. And I don't know if I friended him or he friended me, but we all were starting. There's a little group from Oregon that remember each other because of Facebook. And I just was reading his posts about the passing of his wife and how heart-centered he was. And so somehow we just connected like that. And then he was going to come through. He went to see his family in Bend, Oregon, because they retired there, his siblings. And he flew, he said, well, I'm coming through LA in January of 2020. It was 2021, 2020. And he goes, I'd love to see you if you can come and meet me at the airport. Well, Harry's conservatorship clerk was meeting us at exactly the time he had a window. So I didn't blow it off, which was good, because Harry ended up having a lot of really serious things happen that if I hadn't had the proper paperwork, they could have done a lot of things that maybe wouldn't have Harry be here. So anyway, this is what happened. And we started talking, messaging, texting, and he was going to come in June of that year. And then it came in really hard. COVID came in really hard. And it took him over 2 years to get out of the country. He had to write letters. We had to write letters to get him out of Australia to even come here. So it just so happened that Thiago wanted to finish at Thanksgiving, and he was allowed to leave right before. Like, he was allowed to come out in September of that year that we ended the movie. And he then said, okay, I'm willing to be in the movie, but he didn't want to be interviewed if he hadn't met me physically again, or we hadn't spent some time. And
Yeah.
so it happened organically that way. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it was really, I mean, what a scene. I'm telling you, like, I just went through Kleenex after Kleenex in this scene, people. Yeah, again, I don't want to do too many spoilers in this podcast. But Mark, I have to ask you the question that everyone must be thinking, but maybe they aren't saying out loud.
Okay.
99 out of 100 men would
That's
not walk into a marriage involving two sons with extreme forms of autism. What were you thinking? what
is he thinking?
I don't mean to be your analyst here, but Tamara is beautiful and charming, but like, that's a lot. Let's admit it. It's a lot to walk into something like this.
I never thought anyone, I was never going to do it, Jill, with anyone ever again, because I knew no one would.
Yeah.
It would be, you know.
Well, I guess the most beautiful thing is the time it took for us to finally reconnect physically. We got to know each other really, really well. And given the opportunity, because of today's current technology, you know, we're FaceTiming. So I got to see the boys. You know, I could see Harry when he's escalating. I could see Ian when he's, you know, getting very high anxiety. So I came with eyes wide open, but it's all about this woman's heart.
Yes.
Wow. Well,
That is hard. The heart. He is the heart of the universe. I know, you got me crying again.
I mean, you moved from Australia to take this on.
Yeah, believe me, I thought about it long and hard. I got 3 kids, 2 grandkids. None of them wanted me to come.
No. And why would they? This wonderful father, you know?
But you only have one life. And I don't know. I just felt like this is a calling for me. It's like, I don't know, it's just so drawn.
Yeah. There was you know, there's so many great moments in the film, but there was this moment when you had just really arrived at her house in Pasadena. And I think it was Harry was having an anxiety moment. Things were kind of tough. And you just said, love you, son. Yeah. Oh my God. Just like, oh, I cried and I was just bawling. It was so heartfelt and genuine. And he hadn't had a dad, you know?
No.
Amazing.
Oh,
Okay.
they're 2 amazing young men. I mean, I have no regrets doing what I did. None at all.
Wow.
No second thoughts. I mean, yes, the first day when, I mean, brutally honest, I mean, that first 24 hours or 12 hours, because you got in late in the afternoon, and, you know, boys are they were a little bit escalated for a while. Yeah. It really hit you, you know, like I had never been involved with autism before. So, you know, I got hit right in the face with it. And, you know, yeah, it shook me for 4 or 5 hours, but you just go, hey, this is what I decided to do. Mm-hmm. I'm not running away.
And I'm very thankful that Mark allowed me to come with a camera and film, the
Yeah.
first moment that he was getting in. I mean, it was a lot of intimacy for Dan, and thank you to Tamara to allow me to make this film and being
No.
part of, this important moment.
And their private lives.
Yeah, and their private lives, but they knew how important would be to show, one, it's a big step for Tamara having him and for him having her and being with the boys. But I think showing generally how they met first, how the whole thing came together and his first reactions. I think everybody just cry in that moment. That's
And the
for sure.
statement that Tamara made driving down the 405 to the freeway, that was just like, you were done. And then Mark.
What did I say? I don't remember.
It was like,
No, that you're like you couldn't take anymore,
Yeah.
and then Mark came into your life.
Oh,
and-
yes. Yeah. No, I
that was-
really think his timing was so impeccable. Like I say, the way my life sort of unfolded and now our life together, but I, in a million years, don't think I would have been able to do any more than I did if I didn't have love in my life anymore.
Wow. Well, so love is a big part of the film, the love you have for your sons, the love you develop for Mark. And then another huge theme in the film is, of course, your quest for community for them and support, long-term support for them, which is, of course, something that is very prominent on the minds of all parents of children with profound autism, including yours truly. And it's something we hear about at NCSA every day. It clearly is the number one issue for
Mhm.
families like ours, and clearly an unresolved issue, as the film really notes. So the film goes from your private story and then to a more kind of policy, public story about how where are the solutions. You're not going to, as you say, you're not going to live forever,
Mm.
right? As
Yeah.
you say, what will happen to my children? As you said, this is a silent tsunami. As you said, this is an issue that's bigger than COVID, right? You were there, and you're saying like, yeah, everybody's like, freaking out about COVID. This is a bigger issue, and you're absolutely right. It's a much bigger issue than COVID. I would say it's 1,000 times bigger
I would
issue than
too.
COVID.
Totally.
And it doesn't get anything close to that stature. Nothing. It's as you said, a silent tsunami. It's something that is flying under the radar.
And the
And I
forgotten tribe. I always say we're the forgotten tribe. Like we're
yeah.
this beautiful community of humans that have these very gifted and unusual ways that they are, and they have profound issues that people don't want to even look at. They don't want to help. Like I'm always shocked that no one wants to help.
Oh my God, what was amazing was your discussion about just getting dental treatment.
Right.
Was that for Harry or Ian? I'm sorry that I
That was
forgot.
for Harry.
For Harry. So
He was the one
even
biting his hand off and pulling his hair
his
out.
hair. Right. And he was in distress. He clearly needed dental work. Just getting the obstacles, to just getting that. You can't even get dental work, much less, long-term care,
Right.
for him. And so, the film does talk about your personal quest for, some kind of long-term solution. And it also goes to talk to other families who are thinking along the same lines. You guys, when I say you, Drew and Thiago, featured Sweetwater Spectrum, which is a residential project here in Northern California in Sonoma, near downtown Sonoma, that houses, I don't know, maybe up to 16 adults with autism and other developmental disabilities. And that was, I think, rightfully, a model, right, that you wanted
Yes.
to
We
portray.
want to show, that is a model for wealthy people, right? But
Mhm.
how we make that for affordable housing, and
Right.
and it's what Tamara have visit that place as well.
Yes.
And when they're
A couple
trying
years prior, a friend of mine was trying to help me Catherine Curry-Williams and a couple other friends, Holly Powell and Hillary Ormsby. We went up there, we did a field trip, and we talked to the people because we were, Catherine was trying to get, she got a developer and a architect, because we were going to try to build a community that was affordable. And yes, that's beautiful up there, but it's not for enough people, and it's not affordable unless you're multimillionaires. And none of us that are really in the trenches every day have that kind of money. We're lucky to still have a roof over our heads. A lot, you know.
Yeah, yeah. No, but I mean, what you portrayed, I agree with what you said, but I think that the point was to say, you know, where can they live where they can live full lives?
Yes.
Right. You don't want to institutionalize them, right? You want them to live a life where they're comfortable, where they have a community, where they're engaged, where they're doing something productive, when they're not just housed.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
And that was your point. And, you know, showing things about your agricultural land and open space. I mean, these things are very vitally important. They just are. You have kids who are moving around and jumping all the time, who have sensory sensitivities, who need their own space.
Yeah.
This doesn't happen in an apartment complex. It
No.
just doesn't. It's not physically possible. You know, these are our, and we talk about wheelchair ramps for people who are in wheelchairs. Well, this is our wheelchair ramp. You know, this is the adaptive, you know, setting that they need. But, you know, there's, as we know, almost not only no attention to it, the system is working against, you know, those settings. And, you know, the film did not go into policy. The film brought up the issue, but then kind of stopped.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that, because I think that one thing you said, Tamara, was, oh, we need like a big philanthropist. And I was thinking, well, a philanthropist would be nice, but what we really need is public policy.
Yeah, we do need policies. Yeah, we do. And that's what you're so good at. I mean, I think because I've been so just trying to survive for so many years, I dream big because that's all I have, being isolated. But now I'm like, well, now how do we get to the next place? You know, how do we make this the next step, you know, to get the policies changed so that we all are being protected. Our children are having a purposeful life. I think that's the stuff that really frustrates me the most, is that we fight every day, Mark and I, with trying to get very minimal services in our house that we're paying. I'm going through everything that the boys' future I had put away for them, because we have to pay people out of pocket to come, and we're still with gaps all day long. You know, it's really hard because all these agencies don't have staffing anymore because of COVID. And now everybody wants more money, and they pay them, you know, we're paid in IHSS minimum wage is $16.50 an hour. I mean, who's going to want to work with our kids? Let's be real. If they're making $16.50 an hour, you know, that's just reality. I mean, I'm just going to be real. I wish I was a multimillionaire. I'd pay all those people, you know, whatever they feel they deserve, because they deserve it. And there's a lot of people that really love it. They love the kids, you know, and that's what we're trying to find. If we could sustain a community or get policy through where we could actually build things like this, where people could live and work and they were paid appropriately and they had the passion for it, the whole world could change. And
I think this is why your film is important, because it shows the story. It shows the level of need of at least a portion of these young adults.
A little
it makes it visible, because otherwise, as you said, you're invisible. It's not the autism that the disability rights world likes to, you know, portray.
Yeah, exactly. They don't want to see us. No.
They don't want to see it. And so it's important. And my good.
We're very lucky. Sorry to interrupt. We're very lucky we're in California. From what I've found out since coming over from Australia, California is one of the top 5 states in America as far as funding, state funding. Where's the federal funding? Why isn't there a federal agenda to help this community? And, you know, we have friends obviously in Oregon. We've reached out to them with autistic children, and it's even worse in other states. I can't even fathom that. Seriously, we would spend 3 to 4 hours of every day dealing with bureaucracy.
We do every day. Even today, driving up, I was the whole time emailing and texting while he was driving.
The regional centers they're disbanded. They're not joined together. There's no cohesive unit. That's only my observation, but where's the playbook? Like you mentioned before with the dentistry. Why does it take 5 years? And finally we find it, and there's all these services, but they don't, there's not a playbook saying for somebody, like we have a friend right now that can't get services.
Yeah.
And she's very close to putting her child into a
She's in the ER. Has her daughter in a lockdown in the ER, like what Harry went through, because she's aggressive out on her, and she and her husband can't handle it right now. So, it's like, this is, people call me every day, like I have an answer, I wish I did. I have a vision of an answer, but we don't have what we need to get there yet. So thank you for, having us, talking about this important subject. This is what we really should be.
It's huge, and the problem's only going to get bigger, and we need much better policies at the federal and the state level. And frankly, we don't see the disability rights community addressing this particular problem. They do generally, they know that there's a direct support provider crisis, and that's true across the board. But this particular subset of the disability community needs extraordinary services, and it's just true. And we need much more attention on that. Okay, so there's like 10 more things I want to talk about, but I'm like mindful of the time. I'm like, which one should I do? So I want to go back to the filmmakers. So what are your plans for the film now? What would you like to see come out of all this?
Well, the movie is right now playing at CineQuest. It's a film festival. And people can watch online until March 12th. So it's a great opportunity to rent the movie. I think it's $3.99, and you can watch on your TV. Please don't watch on your cell phone. Don't watch on your computer. But we do submit the film to a bunch of film festivals. We are still waiting to hear back. And hopefully we're gonna get distribution.
We've actually had a couple meetings with a variety of different entities in the distribution field. We had a really great Zoom meeting last week with a sales agent out of New York who's kind of watching it, and we'll see where it goes with that. So we have to finish the festival season, but ultimately our goal would be, of course, to either have it on a platform such as Netflix, Hulu, HBO, Paramount Plus, whatever, and sell it. And
so more people
can watch it. And I know that Tamara and Mark didn't mention, but we are really hopeful with their the website that they've established and their 501c3 that, they could pursue their dream of a community. So hopefully the film will continue to spread awareness and education, and the hopes that their dreams can come true also. I always ask my question, people ask this at Q&As. Think about our senior population. We have multiple choices for them, in living situations. Why don't we have this for our special needs young adults? Why don't they have the same amount of choices and options for high quality?
We ask ourselves that question every day.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I ask it to the air all the time, like, why?
Exactly. Yeah. And the answer would be another film. If you want to make another film, we could probe that question, because it is a huge societal question, a huge issue that really deserves its own documentary. But again, there's only so much you could do. And how long's your film? Is it like 80 minutes, 90 minutes?
No, it's 96
minutes. Yeah, there's only so much you could do in 96 minutes. You can't solve it. Well, I do hope.
It's 86. It's my fault. It's 86 minutes.
Okay.
You cut it down a little. Yeah.
Let's hope it gets on Netflix or something similar, where millions of people can have the honor of watching it. I think we're behind you and rooting for you 100%.
Thank you
Thank you,
very
Jill.
much.
Thank you so much.
This is a worldwide problem. This is not just a United States problem. This problem is worldwide.
Yeah. Well, if you look at, we talk about prevalence a lot at NCSA and the increasing prevalence of autism, and truly it has increased on the order of 50-fold. Even if you just look at more severe autism, even if you don't even look at kind of milder forms of autism, it's increased on the order of 50-fold since the 80s, which shocks people. They're like, really? And then I show them the numbers, especially from California, and they're like, oh, wow. Yeah. And we're kind of like, oh, well, we're just noticing it better, and it's all better diagnostics.
yeah,
I'm like,
right.
are you effing kidding me?
Oh,
You're like,
God.
no, this is a real
I've been
thing.
reminded.
And there is so much denial. Like we just,
Mhm.
oh, yeah, I'm giving a TEDx talk next month, and I
Oh,
think
good
the
for
talk's
you.
going to be all about this whole phenomenon of denialism in the
Well, you're
autism
perfect to
space.
do it. You have to let us know about that.
Maybe you can write it for me. I don't know. But yeah, it's really a weird cultural phenomenon that we don't want to look at this big problem. Yeah, and one thing I do want to say, that, this is National Council on Severe Autism, and there is in this film, there are little bits and pieces of facilitated communication on screen. And I do want to say that, people might say to me, or one person actually did say to me, like, Jill, the film has some facilitated communication and you guys are against facilitated communication. Let me just say that I think the film is excellent. And yes, it wasn't my favorite part of the film, but for me, it didn't detract from the overall message. It didn't detract from the drama of what was going on. Would I have liked it to be cut out? Sure. But for me, it wasn't the end of the world. So I just want to put that out there because I know some people are thinking that as they're listening to that. Okay, before we close, is there anything else that you want your viewers or future viewers to know about the film?
Wanna go?
Yeah, go, Drew.
Well,
I
I
do.
think that you
We have
should
a-
say, yeah, go.
Sorry, Drew.
That's what I was
Sorry, Drew, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say for you guys to share
About Beyond Ranch Foundation.
about Beyond
yeah.
Ranch Foundation.
Exactly.
We're on the same page again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, we have a website. We do have a nonprofit organization. It's called beyondranchfoundation.org. And it has a lot of information on what we're trying to achieve and what we want to do. And we do dream big.
Yeah, we do dream very big.
Yeah, we do want to, we want this not just to be a solution just for Ian and Harry and others in the local community of Pasadena. We want this to be a model that can be rolled out across the world. We're
Well, I
looking at
hope-
all types of housing,
Mhm.
alternative housing
Affordable
solutions.
solutions.
But we are going to need a lot of people to donate. We are going to need philanthropists with a lot of money that want to
And
that actually
policy
have-
changes.
have our and policy changes, because we're going to need zoning, to get land in America. There's challenges with zoning and all the rest is,
Oh, the whole thing is set up with like 20 obstacles in your way. As I said, if you thought just finding a dentist was hard,
Right.
this is going to be 100 times harder. And it's so unfortunate that I really feel so strongly that all of those obstacles should be just shattered, and we should be doing everything we can to facilitate creation of long-term support solutions, and a whole bunch of them. Like, they're not one model, but a whole spectrum of models.
Yes.
And we're not doing that.
They're not doing it. And
Yeah.
they pass us off. I mean, like we say, the bureaucracy. I mean, we're grateful to our regional centers to get support, but what we have to go through is months and months and months of waiting, improving. And in the meantime, the kids are regressing. There's no programs. There's nowhere for them to go. There's no future. If they have an illness or if they are, severe, nobody wants to be around you. I mean, it's just insane. You're right. We need it. It's so many other ways. It's medical, it's emotional, it's living situations for people. People have no support to get a break. People like us we're getting away for the first time in a few months because I got injured for 2 nights or 3 nights. We're going to be away. It's so hard. My other friends, they never can go away. They can't do it. And they're suffering. I mean, I think for me, it bothers me that so many people are suffering so enormously all over the world and nobody cares. That's how it feels. Feels like
Yeah.
nobody.
Well, your compassion is really, the heart of this film. It really, I almost can't imagine this film's featuring anybody else, just because you're caring about not just your sons and your own sanity, but you're caring about the entire community. So
Yeah.
anyway, well, thank you for the gift of this film, and thank you for being
Just
on the
have one
podcast.
last-
Oh yeah, please.
If people want to see more about the movie and the other projects that we have done, social impact films too, just access the LA Miller Productions, and we have all the information there.
Say it one
And-
more time. Can you spell out the?
It's D
D
DL.
as in Drew.
Okay.
Ellen, my middle name, Miller
D. Ellen Miller.
Productions, yes. And you can actually watch Duke and Chocolate, the 2 short films, one on Alzheimer's and one on autism. You can watch them right from our website.
Okay.
They're little short films, like 18 minutes. Yeah.
And they're acted films. They're not documentaries, but they've done the Where's Nancy documentary about Alzheimer's, and then Us about autism or severe autism.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Got it.
take
Well,
Mark.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
And they're brilliant. These two, they changed our whole life. I'm so grateful. So grateful.
Thank
well,
you.
Yeah.
you're trying to change many, so let's hope it happens, my dear.
thank you.
We're in
Yeah,
this together.
see, Tamara, you were born to be a Hollywood star. You just didn't know that this is what you would be starring, and little did you know.
That's hilarious, isn't it?
Yeah. And I love, by the way, another moment in the film I loved is when you were at the beach with, again, I don't remember if it was Harry or Ian, and you were dancing in the sand.
Uh-huh.
And like you get to actually see like the other Tamara, the pre-autism Tamara, the dancer Tamara. It was beautiful.
Oh my gosh, I got a little nudging from Thiago. But yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Thank
do
you.
like to dance on the beach, I like to dance anywhere.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in to Autism Confidential. If you'd like to learn more, share an idea for an episode, or become a sponsor, please visit us at autismconfidential.org. The views expressed in this podcast are solely those of the individual speakers. Content presented is for informational purposes only, and we do not provide any medical or legal advice.